So here to talk through the Sudoku called Channels by Ashish Kumar, which has a narrow solving path, but doesn't actually require any really tricky Sudoku steps. It's just steps that may be hard in the Mr. Grid to spot. So maybe it's useful to go through this puzzle using just my normal notation style and seeing how I spot things along the solve. My normal way to scan the grids to look for repeated digits. I see 2 8s in the center column, so I'm trying to place another 8. It gives me an 8 across these cells. I see 2 1s over here on the right, gives me this 1. I see 2 3s on the bottom, gives me this 3, a 3 in one of those cells. That's not looking as effective. Places I made progress in the center, so I'm seeing how these 2 4s that both point towards the center give me a useful spot for this 4, which gives me this 4, which gives me looking upwards this 4. 4 note over in these cells. These 2 4s coming down here give me this 4. Coming across gives me this 4 and this 4. So all the 4s are in the grid. One of the places the 4s looks like it cleared stuff out, like look at how 7 and 9 are good digits now because they're eliminated to all these 3 cells, and actually the 7 is eliminated to just these 2. That now forms a pointing pair. 7's got to be down here, 7 over in these cells. 9 working with that other 9 gives a sure 9, which gives actually another 9 placement given we put the 7 down here. That 9 is going to cancel over with this 9 and say a 9 is in one of just those 2 cells. That means there's a 9 right here. 9 in one of these places. The 2 9s in the center rows give me this last 9 in the center rows, puts a 9 note down here and actually moves this over to the right. So we've got 7 9s known for sure, and the last 2 9s are going to alternate over here. The center box is 1 2 3 to go, and just the digit 3 sees it, so that's over there. This now is a 1 2 cell. Sometimes at this time it's helpful to look at like columns that are almost full. This is 2 5 and 6, so the only noteworthy cell there is this looks like a 2 6 cell. But looking through that, I see some places I got the digits 8 can be eliminated through my notes to give me this 8, give me this 8 up top. I know I have an 8 over in these 3 cells down in the bottom in the space. On paper, I might write an 8 on the corner here, but I won't write anything in this grid because there'll be too many digits, I think, to be tracking. This row's almost done. It's 1 2 5 6, and this 2 has just these 2 spots to go over here. These 2 spots here. Of the remaining cells, this sees the 2 and the 6, so this is a 1 5 cell here. This still has a lot of options. This is 1 2 5, still has a lot of options. Actually 1 2 5 6 has all the options. But there are some other digits. I haven't looked at the 6s as much, so we've got a 6 note that comes over like so. 6s in these cells, not as much productive there. Let's just look at the digit 3. The 3s come and put a note over here in the cell. This is where not tracking anything through the digits we looked at. I'd sometimes shift over to looking at boxes where I don't have many numbers. Well, I have a lot of numbers marked, but I got some empty cells. Like this cell is in my notation style interesting at this point in the grid. It's not a 2 3 4 5 7 8 9, so this is a 1 6. It's not a single, but it's limited just from what's around it. And here are 2 other, like this may not look great, but where we've got these notes around, 1 2 and 7 are left. And so let's say, what are some things we know about these cells? This cell is a 1 2 cell only. The cell is a 1 7 cell only, so there's a tension around 1s down here. And this cell is actually 1 2 3 only, so there's potentially something to think about with those digits. And it may come from, let's see, like this row is mostly finished, so let's look at some cells in that 2 3 5 7 to go in the space, and actually this cell sees the 5 and 7, so yeah, this looks really good. Notice this is a 2 3 cell, and this is near these cells, which were a 1 2 cell and a 1 2 3 cell, so this looks to be a triple by looking at the notes. And in different ways you could have like marked on paper, if you let's go to like green, like this being 1 2, this being 1 7, this being 2 3, and now we get sort of 1 2 3. We could have spotted that the other way by looking at 6 and 8 and 9 together. We already knew 9 was down here, but let's look at 6 and 8. So once we got the 8 note up top, and seeing that 6 and 8 cancel this cell. Like this cell can be a 6-8 cell, and then the other 6-8 is down here. So I'm pretty convinced that I've got a 1, 2, 3 triple. And the key thing about that 1, 2, 3 triple is the 1 can only go in these 2 cells in this column, puts, with this pair of 1s over here, a new tension in the cell we were just talking about. This was a 1, 7 cell before. It no longer can have a 1. It now is a 7. Puts a 7 in these cells, puts a 7 in these cells. Those notes don't do a lot of communication, but something else that this 1 gave is with this 1 over here, it puts a 1 over in these cells and a 1 over in these cells. So now I've made this cell, which was a 1, 6, less interesting, but I've maybe made other cells around this box interesting because I have just 5 and 6 to still place as notes. So this is a 2, 5, 6 cell, but this is now a 2, 5 cell. And I haven't marked anything in this cell, so let's actually do a little bit of homework up top. There is a 5 note I can put over here. 1 is going to be up top, but I wouldn't write the note in my normal form. 3 is going to be up top. 6 is going to be over here. So this cell is pretty limited, and this cell 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, this is also a 2, 5 cell. So I've got these 2 cells as 2, 5 cells. And I might as well actually mark that in a different color. I think this will be a key step. This 2, 5 means these cells can't have a 5. This cell can't have a 5, so there's also a 5 limitation here, and I should be careful with this. This is not, this is still a 2, 5, 6, but where this 5 is coming across, it puts a 5 into this cell. 5 over here in my normal notes. And where this had this 8 coming across, used to have 2 options. Now an 8 goes in here. So I can eliminate the non-canonical notes at this time. This is a 2, this is a 5. So that is a pair. This is 1 and 6, 6 to the left, 1 to the right. This is where the 6 now has to move. Moves a 6 here, 7 down, 7 up. The 8s that we marked force this to be an 8. Have this 8 moves down the 3 and the 1 and the 2. The 5 force in the last cell. That 1 coming across puts in this 1. We have 1 and 3 left to go in the space, and there's a 1 to the right, puts in this 2. Those 1s work together to put a 1 up top, put a 3 over here and a 2 there. That 1 now moves to the left, 1, 9, and 7, leaves behind the last 6 that we said had to go in that space. 6 coming over here. This 2 forces a 2, 5 for that pair, puts a 5 in the last cell that can take it. We have 1 and 6 to go for this column. 6 to go in the space. The 5's working from the left, put a 5 in here, and we have a 2 in the space and a 2 as a leftover for this. This is 3 with 5. Puts a 5 in this cell. We have another 2 to make this grid work. We have a 7 and a 3, so we finish the top. 8, 9 here, but 9 is right next to that cell, so this moves over the 8, 8, 2, and 2, 6. So we've gone through this challenging puzzle. It had, I think, a few sticking points. There's definitely finding a triple, whether it was around the 6, 9, 8 or the 1, 2, 3 over in the cell, and that made this into a naked single. So leaving down just a 7 here once we knew 1s were behind. But I think the more subtle thing to find was then that there was now a new reveal of a 2, 5 pair, and that 2, 5 pair itself then constrained enough in these columns to start to get some digits, particularly a 5 down here. So probably a little easier to do on paper, or if you're using these notations, definitely helpful if you're able to spot which cells are more interesting to look at by the cells that have either complete emptiness when a lot of the rest of their boxes are full, or essentially like a limited set of digits that you've otherwise been thinking through. So to the extent I could reveal how I think through and solve Sudoku puzzles, hopefully you got a little bit through watching this video. Thanks, and we'll see you again soon.